another crazy thing about the Kenya Nairobi mission is that in Kenya you have 42 different tribes, and in Tanzania you have over 100 tribes with all of their own distinct languages and distinct cultures and traditions. Especially as you go from Kenya to Tanzania, you'll find there's a big difference between the people. Between Swahili itself, Swahili is very different in Kenya than it is in Tanzania. It's in Tanzania, it's more of a deep Swahili. It's more of the original stuff, whereas in Kenya they mix it with English and with their own tribal languages. So it's more pure in Tanzania. But the culture is quite a bit different as well. In Kenya, the culture is very tribal. They're very proud of their tribe. They love their tribe. You have the Kikuyu tribe, you have the Kamba tribe, you have the Kalenjin tribe, and like I said, 40 other tribes, and all of them kind of have their little differences. They have different food, but generally in Kenya, what you're going to see like food wise, and it's still part of their culture, is ugali, which is corn flour mixed with water, cooked over a jiko, which is a charcoal stove. And that's kind of the substance of the meal. And then they eat it with sukuma wiki, which is, here we know it as like collard greens or kale. There they use that, and that's their main food, especially in Kenya, is ugali and sukuma wiki. And in general, people in East Africa, especially in Tanzania, are very welcoming. Tanzanians, they pride themselves in being a very welcoming, kind people. And so you go to someone's house around lunchtime, around dinner time, and they're going to want to feed you. If they've got food cooking, they want you to stay. They want you to be able to enjoy their food. And it's very rude to deny their food, to reject them. They get very upset actually if you were to say no, I'm full, or I don't want it. They get very offended by that because they love to give, and even though they don't have very much themselves, they want to make sure that you have been given something. And it's actually a custom that if someone enters your home, you have to give them something. So if they don't give you food, they're at least going to give you a soda or water, and they have to give you something. It's just part of the culture. And so, as a missionary, that's kind of a nice thing, because there's good food that you get and good soda and stuff like that. And I guess the food could be hard for some people who aren't used to that kind of food, I guess, or that kind of cooking conditions or cleanliness. But like I said, it's very rude to reject them. And so I knew of missionaries who didn't eat any of the food that they were given, but they also weren't very liked by the people because they felt like they didn't love them because they weren't accepting their food. And so, you need to be smart. Don't go around and just eat anything they put in front of you. If it looks questionable, then you should question it. But also don't be so, I can't eat this. Like, I've never tried this before, I'm never going to touch it. You have to be humble and be willing to understand their point of view, that they want you to be able to indulge in their culture the way that you would expect them to indulge in your culture if they were to come here in the United States. And so the food will be different, obviously. The water doesn't taste as good as you would maybe like it to. But like I said, if someone welcomes you in their home, they're going to want to give you something. So that's kind of a very big cultural taboo, is to say no. It's very important that you do take those things. And then, like I said, in Kenya, life's a little bit more, I don't want to say westernized, but a little bit more fast-paced. People like to get around and do things, but yet they're always late to things, which is kind of weird to me. It's kind of a paradox to me. But in Tanzania, people are very respectful, and the children are very respectful, love to see you. In Kenya, when kids see you, they're just going to follow you around everywhere, and they're going to yell Mzungu, which means white person. And there's only a couple things in English that kids in Kenya know, and that's "How are you?" and "I'm fine." And they'll chant it as you walk past. "How are you? How are you? How are you?" And they don't even care if you respond. They just like to chant it to white people. So that's something that you're definitely going to want to get used to. But also, there's a lot of poverty. You're going to see a lot of poor kids, street kids. Especially in Kenya, there's what they call chokaras, which is a street child basically who's grown up on the street, has no family, and they sit around in the streets begging. And a lot of times they have a little plastic bottle that they fill with glue, and they huff it. So they're high most of the time, and they're always going to be begging you for money, and will pickpocket if needs be. And so that's kind of a hard thing to adjust to, coming from wherever you're from. If it's from Utah, if it's from California, or from New York, or from anywhere, it's a different culture. There's a lot of poor people. There's a lot of people with disabilities, physically, missing legs, missing arms, begging on the streets. And so it's kind of something that you have to realize you can't save everyone money-wise, especially as a missionary. You're actually, there's a rule that you're not supposed to give money. And so, be wise in what you do. Make sure that you understand that there's a lot of people, and if you give to one, then they're all going to come to you, and it could be actually dangerous because they might think you have money and try to take it forcefully. So, but it's just getting used to the culture, getting used to the people, getting used to the way things are done in East Africa.